Is this the intro? It's just your head?
I'm trying to give it a minute because it cuts it off whenever I do it. Man, just all sorts of bad. The worst loss of the season. Come join Locked On Nuggets. Welcome to Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Network, your team every day. Thanks for making this your first listen each and every day. We're free and available on all platforms. Today's episode is brought to you by TrueBill. TrueBill is a new app that saves you money by helping identify and stop paying for subscriptions you don't want or need, and can even negotiate better deals on those you want to keep. We'll check in with more on TrueBill later in the show. My name's Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network. He's Adam Mares. He's director of content for DNVR, thednvr.com. Follow his work at Adam_Mares. This is World's Finest on the worst loss of the season for the Nuggets.
It's not like sometimes we do this when we're like, was that loss worse than this one, or was it that? And it's like this one it's so bad. It is definitively the worst loss of the season.
Well, it's great because if it wasn't coming off of last night, it might not have been the worst loss of the season. If they hadn't had a 17-point lead, it might not have been the worst loss of the season. If they weren't at home, it might not have been the worst loss of the season. If the Hornets hadn't benched LaMelo Ball late in the game, it might not have been the worst loss of the season. But all of that adds up to the worst loss of the season. And in my opinion, probably the worst 2-game stretch for Michael Malone since 2017. Is the last time I can remember him having 2 games consecutively where he coached this badly.
Malone. I mean, I'm surprised kind of to hear you start with him. I mean, there's a lot of places you could start.
Well, I mean, I think this is part of it. I think that some of this game was carryover from the stuff we talked about yesterday.
There's no question. One of the questions we had was like, well, how does the team respond? We can't judge this one until you see how they come back. And what's funny is this game was dominant second, third quarter, sandwiched by horrendous start and finish. And that starting unit did not look like it received a jolt from the way the Oklahoma City game ended. I mean, that was a really bad and weird start to this game for the first unit.
All right, look, you're the Jokic whisperer. I've called you that. You are the person that I trust most when it comes to Nikola Jokic. Like outside of like Tim Conley, Arturas Karnisovas, Tommy Balchetis, maybe Vlatko Čančar and his brothers, like it's you. Like you have such a good feel for how he plays the game, how he approaches the game. You are his, I would say, biggest fan, stateside Serbian fans. I'm going to ask you straight up. Was this a fuck you to Malone?
I can't say that. Like, I'm not even a touch. I have no idea. I don't think so. What I think this was more than anything was Jokic just looks miserable. And it's funny because we just saw an interview with him the other day and somebody asked the question, if your life was a song, what song would it be? He said, no such song is beautiful enough to capture how beautiful my life is. So it makes me think like he's happy, he's content. But when you watch him on the basketball court, he looks anything but that. And this was a game where he looked like, I mean, look, he took 11 shots in the first 8 minutes, and they were not like he only made 2 of them. They were rushed, they were forced, they were awkward. It was I don't know what to make of it. I don't want to say it was an FU. To me, it looks like a guy who is in desperate need of a mental break.
34 shots.
Career high.
Like, Jokic shot. If you asked me before the season, will Nikola Jokic shoot the ball 34 times in a game? I'd be like, no, that will not happen unless it is quadruple overtime, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, here's the thing is,
especially against Charlotte on a random just game. Yeah. Like,
well, and here's part of it. Okay. He did have 29 points. He did have 21 rebounds. He did have 5 assists.
He was a plus too. The only guy on the team that was a plus.
Yeah. Like, here's the thing. Like, I don't think that he played badly.
Right.
But
I agree. I agree, by the way.
That first quarter, I cannot watch. Like, when I went back and rewatched it, it was the same thing as when I watched it the first time. I was like, this is, it felt, here's the thing. I wrote this down in my notes. I was like, one of two things happened. Either he's mad at Malone or he's mad at us because he listened to Locked On Nuggets last night and was
Well,
like,
that part's not true. He did not listen. I honestly think Jokic is elite, all worldly at locking those things out.
no, I'm sure he does. I just thought it was just funny to me because you and I were both like, we hammered the team last night. We hammered
Right.
Jokic. We hammered Malone. And in particular, like you were like, there's just got to be times when he like takes over a game and then he comes out and is like, it very much, again, mute this if you're in the car, if you got the kids in the car, but like it very much was like okay, well, fuck you guys. I'll just shoot every time. Is that what you people want?
Is that what you want? Yeah. And he's had some of those games before, right? Where it's like he shot the ball almost like he is making a point. I don't know, Matt. Like, I don't know. What I will say is the energy was weird. And that's the best you could say about it. I mean, he rebounded the heck out of the ball in that first stint. So it wasn't even in that first stint, he was still doing things that were important and productive, but the energy was just really strange. And it reminds me, the last 2 games kind of remind me of the playoffs last year against the Suns in the second round, where I just looked like Jokic was almost like he had anxiety. Like he was just so frustrated that he couldn't control himself. In these last 2 games, I think the same thing. Jokic has looked, there was a shot of him today. It was a real subtle one, a real quick one, but there was a shot where the camera went to him on the bench right before he checked in for the final time, where he had this look on his face of like, I just want to like punch someone. And I was just thinking like, my God, this guy is not happy right now. But I mean, I'm projecting. I don't know. Maybe he is happy. I don't know.
You're like, I'm miserable watching this team. So maybe
I am miserable. I might be just projecting my own true misery onto what this last couple games has been.
Okay.
One thing I'll say though, basketball, it's best if we just stick to the basketball. The fourth quarter, the first quarter, I don't know. Second, third, he absolutely dominant. I mean, it was a joke. And then the fourth quarter, when he has to come back in, I will say the rhythm of the fourth quarter was so atrocious and almost offensive. They went small. Denver should have an enormous ability to take advantage of that, and they just couldn't get him the ball. When they did get him the ball, the team was collapsing, and there just was no like movement or cuts. After the game, Jokic took responsibility. He said, I just missed shots. But I'm watching that fourth quarter, and I'm thinking, that was just ugly, ugly, ugly basketball.
I have let's see, this is the thing is, here's what I don't like about where the team is at and where the dynamic is at. If you blame one player, then there will be a cacophony of responses, and not just amongst like the fans, but like media as well, about like, well, what about this guy?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
That's where it is. Like, I want to be very clear on this. Will Barton sucked tonight.
He was really bad.
He was like, this was honestly one of the worst Will Barton defensive games I think I've ever seen. Michael Green.
The defensive part to me is consistent. I just don't think he can move. He reminds me honestly of Michael Porter, in his 9 games this year, where it's just like, why aren't you running? Why aren't you jumping and moving? And I just don't think he can do it.
JaMychal Green was atrocious defensively. That was the worst game I've ever seen JaMychal Green play defensively. He only played 12 minutes and was a -10. Was very much a -10. Like, I went back and was just like flabbergasted at the defensive coverage. Jeff Green just didn't close out on guys.
Yeah, there was a couple times. You're right. There was a couple times where I'm like, he's going to shoot. What's going on here?
Yeah, what are you doing?
Especially late with PJ Washington.
Yeah, Barton had one on PJ too, where Barton was there, and Barton literally was like, okay, we're going to reset. And I was like, PJ Washington's going to shoot that.
Yeah, he's going to shoot. That's the scouting report on him in particular. He's not like he's not shy.
Yeah. Well, and he's a good 3-point shooter. Like, yeah, he's streaking. I'm not surprised at that. And like, I'll say this, like, Facu Campazzo in the second half was bad. He wasn't bad worse than the rest of the Nuggets. He wasn't the biggest reason they lost. Like, they all, like, there is not a single Denver Nugget that I can point to in the second half, except for Vlatko Čančar, that I can look at that and go, it was not on you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that. Austin Rivers, maybe. I don't know that.
Maybe. Yeah, Austin was pretty good.
Yeah. Here's the thing about Vlatko, or about Facu, because I honestly feel bad for him, because I think he played fine tonight. he's played, let's see here, 70 minutes in the last 2 games in 4 stints. In 4 stints. He's playing 16-minute stints. I don't understand what's going on. I have no idea what's going on with his minutes right now. It just doesn't make any sense to me that he would come in the late first quarter, play all the way through, come in the late mid-third quarter, play all the way through. I don't understand it.
Malone said after the game he was worried in the second half about the small ball, and so he wanted to match up with them.
I can't stand it. I cannot stand that. It's the Hornets.
Yeah.
You're up 20 and it's the Hornets.
I can get myself in a mental place to understand it. But in order to do that, though, here's like the big key, though. Like, this is also it's a telling moment, Adam, because in order to get myself in that place where I look at it and I go, I am better off with this lineup, I have to believe Facu Campazzo gives me the best chance to win.
Right.
And like, you can disagree with me about my feelings on Facu Campazzo's place on this team or the roster or any of these other things, or how those air balls tonight were some of the worst shots I've ever seen in my life. But nonetheless, you cannot argue with me that Facu Campazzo is so good as to mean that you need to try and match up, like that he's going to give you an advantage in a small ball match. No, that's not a thing.
I mean, he was on the court for the entire collapse. So I really don't want to put it on Facu as in he did something wrong.
Right.
I just think it was very clearly in the moment, even the wrong decision to kind of close with him.
Like, this is what I was trying to explain to J. David Walker on Twitter. Is I was like, it's not that I think Facu Campazzo is the problem. It's that I think Facu Campazzo is never the solution. And
I don't know.
And
to me, about that. He wasn't. And
to me, in this game, especially, like it wasn't like, oh, Facu did everything that he could, and the team collapsed around him. Like, that wasn't the case. He was.
I think we can make this simpler. I think we can make this simpler and even more broad here.
Yeah.
I think Michael Malone, one of his defining traits, and I mean this for all of his years, I think he has trust problems. As in, like, he just doesn't trust guys. And we talk about why did they stick to certain players? Why don't they go to this guy? Why is it so hard for young players to break into the rotation or this or that? I think he has guys that he trusts and guys that he does not.
Yes.
Bones has earned his trust. Like, Bones is an example of a rookie that got into his trust circle, but a lot of guys haven't. And Facu, for whether you agree or not, is in his trust circle. And tonight, Malone went to the mattresses. It's like, I don't trust anyone. I'm going to Facu because I trust him. I'm going to Barton because I trust him. Neither of those two guys probably had earned the right to, if we go off of what he said this last game, like, earned the right to do this. I don't think either of those guys probably should have been on. And yet they were, because I think they're in the circle of trust, and a lot of guys are not.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's take a break. We'll come back and we'll talk more about this debacle when we come back on Locked On Nuggets. But first, I want to say about PrizePicks. So, Nuggets fans, you've been hearing me tell you about PrizePicks for months. Have you signed up yet? Because if you haven't, now's the perfect time. For a limited time, PrizePicks has an exclusive no-brainer of an offer for all of our users. Users get $50 for free if a player in your first PrizePicks entry scores a single point, but you have to use code NBA. That's code NBA. That's right. This is an exclusive offer available to Locked On fans only who use code NBA. PrizePicks has the best NBA DFS prop game on the market. They offer more props than any other operator, and they have all the bench players like Facu Campazzo, as well as all the starters. PrizePicks offers any prop you can think of, from points, assists, rebounds, threes made, everything. You pick 2 to 5 players and over/under, and it's just you versus the projected numbers. PrizePicks also allows mixed sport entries, so you can put them together with some of the Broncos props as well. Use the award-winning app on both the App Store and Google Play. PrizePicks is safe and offers fast withdrawals. Go to prizepicks.com today or go to your App Store and download the app. All users that deposit and use promo code NBA will get $50 free if your first PrizePicks entry scores a single point. That's right. All users that deposit and use promo code NBA will get $50 free if your first PrizePicks entry scores a single point. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. We're also brought to you today by Boost Mobile. You listen to podcasts for the power of knowledge, you switch to Boost Mobile for the power of saving money. Get 3 unlimited data lines for $30 a month per line and a free 5G phone when you switch, so you can get the latest episodes, all on one of America's largest 5G networks. More power to save? Boost Mobile. Free phone limited to new customers and 1 per line. Additional restrictions apply. Offers and coverage not available everywhere or for all phones and networks. See boostmobile.com for details. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets, thanks for making us part of your day and making us your first listen each and every day. We're free and we're available on all platforms. I also want to do a shout out. By the way, if you guys want to catch us on YouTube, we do this every night. Basically, it's Adam does post game at the DNVR and then comes home. And then we usually do this. So if you're up late, if you subscribe to us on YouTube and you get your notifications turned on, you're going to learn that we are streaming and you can join the show like Robert Rodarte has done.
Yeah, I see him. See you there, Robert.
What's up,
Thanks
Robert?
for tuning in,
Thanks
buddy.
for joining us. So you can do that if you check us out on YouTube, which is how you should. I also want to thank everybody for all the great 5-star reviews. As you have followed up on my request, I am a man of my word. There will be no conversation about the best team in Midwest professional football.
Oh my God! You can't even keep your own promise for what you kept that for 3 seconds. Wow!
For the remainder of the NFL season, there will be no conversation about it for the remainder of the season. Thanks for all those 5-star reviews. Okay. All right, Adam.
You're right.
Look, we talked about Barton last night, right?
We did get a bunch of people to make a review. You guys rule.
Yeah, it's great. And they're all like, I'm just doing this to get you to stop talking about the team I'm not talking about. So it's great. So here's the thing. Like, I'm not really interested in getting into a discussion of like who was most like that's the thing. I'm
with you.
Like the point I wanted to make about Facu was just that there was nobody that was exempt in this game.
Yeah,
it was just like Vlatko is the only one I can say that's exempt, and like credit to Vlatko because he looked lost and like the same player that he's been to start the season. And
I think he's looked really good. I honestly don't. He's another one that I'm just like I don't get why he doesn't play. To me, he's like Davon Reed. Maybe this is it, Maz. Our expectations are different. Like I don't think he's gonna save you or anything. But when you have Jokic, you just need guys that aren't gonna dribble into a triple team or heat check 5 different times or just do those kinds of things. And Vlatko to me is a very reliable. He's always going to be in the right spot. He's going to do the right thing and he's going to knock down some shots. So I thought he was really good tonight. I really thought Vlatko was good tonight.
Like at the same time, like, yeah, I see. And this is what I was kind of going over. Cause like, Ryan and I were talking on Twitter today about like the injury issues and at the core end of this, like I can look at this game and go like, well, okay. Like Aaron Gordon probably does make a difference in this game, especially with his perimeter defense, like able to contain. He's going to have better KYP, all these types of things. And like, look, at the end of the game, when they're having that trouble getting the ball to Jokic, I am not going to sit here and just say like Jokic had 34 shots. He did not need more. Like, no, they had trouble getting in the ball. I admit that. The easiest way to do that was just pick and roll. This is where it's just like, it's glaring. Like, no, there may be no situation in a regular season context where you miss Jamal more, because there will be nights when like the team doesn't have it and Jamal will try and bail you out and he won't be able to get it going either. The shot just won't fall and it won't work. Right. And those are like the bad Jamal nights where it's like,
you have to guard him tonight. I think Charlotte was just like, we're going to lose this game. We might as well just not guard anybody but Yoke. And it was a disaster. Swarm the ball. I mean, it was a disaster.
And so this is the thing is like the best way to beat that is just like run pick and roll. This Hornets defense can't guard pick and roll at all. Yeah. And when they ran pick and roll with both Facu and Will, they had success. But then like, boy, there was just weird stuff. Like Barton would ISO and then like Campazzo like pulled out and took like a pull up 3 instead of just giving the ball to like just stuff where I'm just like, guys. And I guess I understand it from the perspective of it's tough to be like, hey, the other players need to step up and support Jokic, but also, why are you shooting? Give the ball to Jokic, right? But like, there's got to be some downhill motion. There's got to be some pressure on the defense. Yeah. Like this team right now, this is 2 nights in a row where the team is just basically like, we'll take whatever you will let us have that is a path of least resistance offensively.
Here's what I'll say. George Karl, I always bring it up, but he uses the word connection. And I just love it because to me, that's what basketball is about, especially for a team like Denver. They can't just win on a bunch of ISOs here or there. It's about connection. Denver played with the worst connection possible in that fourth quarter, really in the whole second half, but in that fourth quarter. And once it kind of spun out of control, it's almost like the connection got worse. Will Barton caught fired. He had a great little moment, and I was excited for him because he hadn't had a good moment for a while. But
Yeah.
it turned out to be the worst thing for the Nuggets in this game because he didn't realize when that moment passed, because it passed pretty quick. It was like a 3-minute little moment for him. And then he just kept going. He kept driving. He kept barreling into the basket. And then on the defensive end, I mean, this was a two-way. You don't blow it just on one end of the court. Then defensively, just so slow to try to cover guys. Ish Smith, officially the Nuggets killer, maybe the number one Nuggets killer, Ish Smith. If Ish Smith ever teams up with what's the big man in Sacramento, Rashawn Holmes, if he ever teams up with them, they're going to beat Denver by 100. But he comes in.
It's funny because I've brought up to you, like, he's been my fill-in constantly where I'm like, the Nuggets just need Ish Smith. Like, if they just had Ish Smith off the bench, they'd be fine. And then Ish Smith like comes in and has like a huge impact.
He didn't even play. Did he play in the first half?
No.
He was brought in as the like it's over, whatever, and it's like, no. Little do you know that's the secret weapon. And but Will Barton just moving his feet laterally, closing out, is all of it is so gone right now that I honestly, and I'm a Will Barton guy, I honestly think the team is better right now without him playing because of how slow he is on the defensive end and because of how poorly he scales his game down when he doesn't have it athletically.
So I have a number that I wanted to throw at you. What worked in the second half? And what I'm asking you is, I'm trying to get around this. Like, I'm not, again, this is less about, I want to know what because I honestly don't remember. They won the non-Compazzo minutes in the second half, which I thought was just like insane. Like, that was the only stretch. He was the only player when he was off court, they had a positive in the second half. Like, all the way down. They lost all the other minutes. And again, not making this about Compazzo. It's about, I'm trying to remember like what lineup they were using that might have.
It was a starting lineup because the first unit was good in the third quarter.
Okay.
And it was Jokic in particular. I mean, Jokic was just so dominant when he was in the second and third quarter. Will Barton also had his little run. I mean, and it was a meaningful. I don't mean to say little as in to demean it. It just was. I think he hit 3 or 4 in a row.
Yeah, because Yoke played 10-21 of that quarter and was a +6.
Yeah, and so they were already up. And they were already up.
So I mean, let me look at this. So they were outscored in the first quarter. One. Jokic was a minus, and Vlatko was actually a -11 in that first quarter. Jokic was a -4 first quarter.
Huge. He was second, right?
A +15 in the second.
Yeah.
A +6 in the third. And a -15 in the fourth. So again, like the model that I've talked about remains true. They got to win 3 of the 4 stints.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Like
first and fourth. Yep. This game was 2.
And honestly, if they, and you can look at this and say, like, look, if they win the first quarter, then they're up 30 and they have enough of a cushion to survive.
That was a weird first quarter, man.
It was a very, very weird first quarter. Look, here's the thing. You as a Will Barton guy who have defended him, like, alongside me, like, we've been on the, like, you guys don't get, like, how important Will is to this team. You are at, like, this moment of doubting the faith. And like, I'll say it, like, this is the moment where I don't know that I've had more concern for the coaching staff than this. And
I don't think Malone knows what to do, and it might be because there's not anything to do. That might actually be it. Although I don't necessarily know about that, but it's just his body language tonight was maybe the worst of anyone, and it was bad when Denver was up 20. And he had this look on his face of pure frustration and worry and all of these things. And it's funny is his media availability lately, he's actually said, I've never gotten concerned like this season that we've all felt good or this, he's talking about it. But I watch him on that bench when they're up 20 points and he's furious about every little thing. And I'm just sitting here thinking like, this is a heavy season. This is a tough season. And he, of all people, just seems to be revving, living in the red right now.
Well, and it's this bad combo, right? Where it's like, I asked him at the end of last season, I was like, you think there's going to be carryover from this year and a half run that you've been on, or year run that you've been on. And he was like, yeah, I think he'll carry into next season. And he was talking about the players, but honestly, I think they've been okay. And I think it's been him. I think the bubble was extremely hard on him emotionally. Not because of like being away from his daughters. I think that was like, that made it worse, right? Because you've got no sanctuary. Like if you're a coach and your whole thing is you can't stop competing and worrying, and then you've got nowhere to, you don't have your daughter being like, hey dad, what do you think about like the distraction that kids provide? You don't have the comfort of like your wife and all that. Like you're just in a hotel room in Orlando, Florida, stewing. Then you come out of it and you got everything last year, and then you have this season, and they've got all these injuries and all this. Like it's just been one thing after another. And I do, but at the end of this, here's the biggest thing: is the reason that like I'm compelled to still say that the job hasn't been good enough. That's the job. Like here's the thing, the other players don't have anything to do with the rotations or the other players outside of LeBron don't have anything to do with like who plays and who doesn't, and like, who starts and what are like, they don't run the teams, right? Every other player except LeBron James don't run their teams. But the coach, regardless of who's hurt and who's injured, you have your guys, and the guys that you have to make that work to the best of their ability. And the problem is you can definitively look at the performance of the Nuggets throughout the season and say they are not performing to the best of their ability. That's not to say that the best of their ability is very high because of the injuries, because it's not. But it hasn't been good enough. And that's just how the league, and he knows that. I know he knows that. That's how the league works. I also look at this very similar to that 2017-18 season where they were spiraling and he just had to like let go. And just like, basically he turned around and was just like, I got to lighten up. And he loosened up and he started, the biggest change that season was that he started saying, if you guys win, you don't have to practice the next day and we won't do shoot-arounds. But like those carrots are gone.
This team, I think, is missing something. I mean, they're obviously missing a lot of pieces. Like they're missing a lot of talent in this or that. But I feel like they might be missing some emotional aspect. And I don't know if that's a player, a veteran, a leader, or something. But there seems to be an emotional void right now. And that's the thing that concerns me most. Jokic looks frustrated. We've seen him do some high-profile frustration things this season. And tonight, that first quarter, last game, like it's starting to add up.
Like who's the heart and soul? Like who's the emotional spark plug of this team? Who's the heartbeat?
Who is the heartbeat of this team?
Because I think it's usually Will, but Will's got to be at capacity for him to do that, and he's not.
It's true. Yep.
It's never been Joker. Jamal took the reins. He's not around. I think they want that from Facu Campazzo, and I'm sorry, he's not good enough. He's just not.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's got to be one of your main players.
Yeah. And so like they don't have anything to like.
I think I just got to say again, to be in contrast to you, Facu, same with Jokic. Facu in the end of first, second, third quarters, like end of first and second quarter, and until the wheels came off in that third, I thought was not just good, he was great. Like
3 of 12 from the field and 3 of 10 from 3, a -1.
Yeah, but
really bad turnovers.
But here's the thing: he was 3 of 10 from 3. What did Denver shoot as a team from 3 tonight? 33%. He shot the same percentage as everybody else. He was great tonight, and he was the reason they went from down 7 to up 15 or whatever.
Do you think he should be taking 10 threes?
Look, this was the rhythm of the game tonight, though. Like to me, I don't think he was like forcing threes.
Oh, if he's going to airball 2 so badly they don't even get halfway to the rim, I think he's probably taking too many.
All right, hey, let's agree to disagree on this one because we can never talk about Facu. I mean, this is the thing. The conversation on Facu is so poisoned we can just never go to it this whole year. I thought he was very good until he wasn't, but that was true of the Nuggets. They were very
overall. Here's the thing, though. I think it's important to talk about. Because he feels very important, Adam, but he was a -25 in that second half. Take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk about other things when we get back, including not everything is bad. I have some good news for you when we come back after the break. But first, I want to tell you about TrueBill. Do you know why free trials renew with your consent? It's a business scam to get you. Don't let greedy corporations pocket your money. Download TrueBill to take control of your subscriptions. It's the new app that helps you identify and stop paying for subscriptions you don't need, want, or simply forgot about. On average, people save up to $720 a year with TrueBill. Companies make subscriptions hard to cancel, so TrueBill makes it incredibly simple. Just link your accounts, and TrueBill will cancel your unwanted subscriptions in one tap. And your TrueBill concierge is there when you need them to cancel unwanted subscriptions so you don't have to. They got over 2 million users and help save them over $100 million. Don't fall for subscription scams. Start canceling today at TrueBill.com/LockedOnNBA. Go right now, TrueBill.com/LockedOnNBA. It could save you thousands a year. TrueBill.com/LockedOnNBA. Final segment here on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us and making us part of your day. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. Now make your second listen Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs, hosted by your boy Q, with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. It's free and it's available on all platforms. I have good news for you, Adam. You want to know what the good news is?
Let's hear it. I'm very anxious to hear what this good news is.
Everyone else in the West sucks.
That's true. That is the good news, actually. You're right.
Memphis loses, the Lakers lose, the Mavericks lose, the Wolves lose. The Nuggets are still, as of right now, they have one less loss than the Los Angeles Lakers, who are in sixth place in the Western Conference. So they are technically tied in, like, they're a few percent, they're 0.001 behind in percentage, in win percentage behind the Lakers for the sixth spot. They are 2 games back of the 4th seed in the loss column. No one's getting away. Like, it's bad, and it could
tonight
spiral.
I was like, let me scroll. I'm like out of pain. I'm like, I'm gonna scroll the timeline and see everybody talking trash about the Nuggets and this or that. And they weren't. They were talking trash about the Lakers and everybody else. I'm thinking, oh yeah, that's right. Everybody else is having the exact same season as the Nuggets, where everything feels terrible, and yet Denver is still right there. I will say though, Denver has such a pride. I mean, all these teams can say the same thing, but like Denver snatched defeat from the jaws of victory tonight. And
yeah, I mean, they had the worst loss of all of them. The Mavericks hung in and lost a tough game versus the Bucks without Luka. You know, the Wolves were without Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns and a bunch of other guys, and really hung around with Utah. Like, they were a pain in that game.
Yeah.
The Lakers had a pretty embarrassing one. They lost at home and San Antonio put up 138 on them, but that was pretty bad. Memphis played the Warriors tough. Like, you know, everyone else, I think, like Denver categorically had the worst loss of the night. It was
here's what I'll say, because people I know, I think Jokic, his MVP campaign took a major hit this week. This has been a very tough week. Yeah. Tonight, the Golden State Warriors won without Andre Iguodala, without Andrew Wiggins, Jordan Poole. So, like, they were really shorthanded tonight against a very hungry and good Memphis team, and still got the win. Steph Curry had 46 points. He was insane. So, you know, Jokic's MVP campaign, I think, is on life support, but nonetheless, Denver is right there with all of these other teams they're not the only one. They were the top story for us, and they probably were the top story because, to your point, their loss was the worst, but they're not the top story everywhere else.
I mean, part of it is, like, I think, you know, we talked about this with the heartbeat thing. They need something to be the story. Like, part of it, the last 2 seasons really has been like the team would get excited when MPJ would have a breakout game. Like, they would all get, like, when he was struggling and then would, like, break out of it, the Mike stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, for sure. He's just another guy that can, you know, do something.
Like, it could have been PJ Dozier tonight if he hadn't torn his ACL. You know?
Yeah. Like, honestly, in a weird way, you want to know something funny? It could have been Marcus Howard.
Yeah.
Even Marcus Howard would have his little bit of moments here or there, but yeah, I don't know. Denver, I'm worried about. Though the Lakers have reason to be worried. They gave up 138 points to the San Antonio Spurs tonight. Yeah. All these teams have reason to be worried. I'm worried about Denver from just the feel. Like I said, when Jokic checked out of that Suns game with a technical and an ejection in Game 4 after the sweep, to me, I was just like, mentally, he's done. And I just get that feeling right now of like, man, this team just doesn't seem happy. They don't seem, everything seems so hard.
I know that oftentimes, like with you, like the main thing is the main thing. And I agree with you on the connection and the happiness. I think it's like an important note. Like, as we chronicle this season, that's the story right now. Is there an unhappy, disjointed, unconnected shorthanded team that's at the end of a brutal 2-year run. 2 years, 3 seasons, something. Time is a flat circle. I do want to. Can I ask you a tactical thing?
Sure.
So I noticed this. Denver's running more drop coverage than ever before. They're running it a lot with Jokic, and to me, that's like very plainly a this takes less effort because that's one of, like Bigs will say that they're like, well, it honestly a lot of it is like it's easier, They're running a lot of drop coverage. I gotta tell you, I really hate it. Like, I don't think that he's at his best defensively when he is just watching them attack him.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that I've necessarily noticed that the numbers or what it is that they're running. They do run it. They've ran it in years past from time to time, and they certainly ran it the entire Suns game series, and we know why they did it. Maybe it is. I mean, maybe it is a fatigue thing. Like I said, I'm very concerned about Jokic's fatigue level. He went all of last year without having a bad game. I think he's had 3 this year. And I know that's not that many, but it's still 3 more than he had last year. And they've all come in the last 3 weeks or so.
I mean, it's honestly, it's kind of funny because usually you and I are railing against the idea that after every loss or every bad stretch, that fans often feel like something has to change. And we're like, no, it's just a bad stretch. Like, yeah, they're bad. We can say they're bad, but we don't need to change everything about the team because they've had a bad stretch. And now I'm honestly in a place where I feel like they need to change and there's literally nothing they can do.
I know. The options are very, very limited. I'm worried at Will Barton. I'm worried. Aaron Gordon, I'm worried. Aaron Gordon just had 5 days off, played 1 game, and then needed another one off. So, that's a little concerning. But like you said, Bones Highland, I think, needs time off. He was not very good tonight. He hasn't been good when he's been dealing with ankle soreness, but Denver has no options.
As a comparison, they are running last season. Oh, this is interesting, actually. So last season, they ran switch the most of any coverage last season. Per 100 possessions, they ran it 13 times. They played up at the level 12 times. This season, they're even higher, though. It's almost 17 possessions per 100, 17 picks per 100 possessions. That's 5 more picks than they were running last year. They're running drop. That's the numbers. So, like, that's happening a lot more. And I do feel like, it was interesting just because I was running some numbers a day and I was like, oh, the Hornets are really bad playing at the level. So the Nuggets should be able to play that scheme and be fine. And they just don't. They just were like, okay, I guess we'll drop. And Ish Smith will just have a lane. And I mean, I guess it worked versus LaMelo and Gordon Hayward. So I guess it's like, what can you do? It's also really funny. Somebody mentioned this to me on Twitter. It was funny that, like, last night the disaster was Malone letting the bench play out the string. And then tonight, James Borrego literally benches LaMelo Ball and gets a win.
Hey, he did. The one thing is he brought Rozier back. So he at least brought one guy back. But yeah, you're right about all the other ones.
So these are the darkest times. These are the bleak times.
I'm just not as optimistic. Usually when Denver's hit adversity, I'm like, well, there's light at the. This one, I'm like, I don't know, man. This is probably the season they have. It's just this up and down season, and they're on a down right now. Hopefully the down ends soon, but if they do get up, I don't feel that confident that they'll stay up.
Most teams I would honestly just write off. The reason I won't write this one off is I remember the 2020 season. It wasn't this bad. But they were up and down that season. I remember that, like, going it, like, when we hit the hiatus, like, they had a couple of really bad losses leading into that Mavericks game. That was a weird one. And it was just like this, we kept going on like, God, they just, like, they're okay, but they're so inconsistent.
Yeah.
And then, they put it together. And again, like, you can make the same argument against the Nuggets as you can against various teams in the bubble. But I do think that, like, this team's playoff proven. And so I am still kind of the mindset of, like, the only problem now is I really am kind of focused in on Jamal, and it's not fair to, like, you just can't be like, Jamal's going to make everything better. He's coming off a major knee surgery.
Yeah, it's rough, man. It's rough. I don't know. Hopefully Michael Malone has a little break. I think the team needs a little break here, and you come back after Christmas and have to dive right back into it because Nuggets next 3 games at Clippers, at Warriors, home versus Warriors, very quickly could turn this into a losing streak if you're not careful.
All right. Well, you guys have a great holiday. Everyone enjoy the holidays if you celebrate them. If you don't, have yourselves a great weekend. We'll be back with you next week. We're going to take some time with the family. We'll get back to you after the Nuggets. They play Sunday. I think they play Sunday. Yes.
Sunday. Yep.
So we'll have a recap on Sunday night. We'll be back with you with all episodes next week. I've got some travel coming up, so some stuff will be interrupted, but we'll make sure to record. Make sure to check out the YouTube page. Give us the 5-star reviews because I won't talk about the one team that I won't talk about. And we'll talk to you guys again next week on the final week of 2021 on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us.